Hello everyone and welcome now to game number one. Game number one taking place here on Amazonia between Focus and 120. Alright, Focus spawning as the blue orc. Well, no, let me go ahead and change colors. Focus spawning as the red orc over here on the bottom left hand side of the map. Meanwhile, over here on the top right, we have 120 spawning as the blue Undead. Undead versus Night Elf in this 1v1, and yes, I do believe this is going to be the case as game number one does get underway. This is taken from Ting Invitational. This is the winners bracket semifinals, I believe. Some of the names and some of the games are all kind of mislabeled, making them very, very hard to find. And a bit of an apology to you there, but once again, want to thank Ting and all the people who've been hosting or hosted this tournament ways back when, so that we can actually watch some of these games. Anyways, this is game number one in this series. It is going to be an orc versus an undead matchup, as we are looking at a Death Knight now coming out for 120. He will be going up against a Blade Master, no big surprise, as we are going to be looking at that Blade Master perhaps running around and doing a bit of shadow or wind walking, not shadow striking, wind walking, and attempting to get to level 2 quickly. Now, Night Elf, not on this map, excuse me, Undead versus Orc here. And we'll see what the long-term, long-game strategy is going to be. I do expect to see some Raiders. We could see dual bestiaries, as Raiders are incredibly important in this matchup. Blade Master now going to make his rounds out. Goes straight after this Renegade Wizard right here, getting in some of that damage and attempting to take this Renegade Wizard down. Renegade Wizard does deal 30 to 39 damage, but the Grunt does deal a little bit of bonus damage as well, as that Blade Master may pick up the item and then just simply wind walk away, sell the Scroll of Town Portal, pick up the healing salves, and now make his rounds out. Now, the Blade Master has not used Wind Walk as of yet. Meanwhile, the Death Knight has opted to do a very, very fast creeping tech and also using an Acolyte down over here. You may be wondering what the Acolyte was used for. The Acolyte was used in order to make his position down over here, take down a critter in order to get the skeletal minion charge off very, very quickly. Blade Master going to finish things off here. Now going after the Forest Troll Trapper. There is a healing salve there. Grunt did do a temporary blow onto the Blade Master, pulling the aggro off. You can see that Blade Master is currently taking that damage while the Grunt is still healing up. There it goes, and we should now see another healing salve being used onto that Blade Master again. Meanwhile, Death Knight opting to clear out a relatively difficult creep camp here, using multiple skeletal minions. Gonna go ahead and get to level 2 and now make his rounds out. He already has a Robe of Magi +6 as the Blade Master now heads off to the north. Very interesting strategy here, as the Blade Master is going to be doing a little bit of chasing. No Nerubian Tower, though. That has to be a huge mistake by 120, as Focus could get in a lot of easy damage here. However, the Death Knight, as you can see, is already sitting at level 2. And with that Robe of Magi, should be able to have plenty of mana going into that next fight. New Rod of Necromancy charge. You can see that Blight is healing up that Death Knight rather quickly. Meanwhile, that Blade Master gonna wind walk back in and perhaps try to shut things down. Death Knight has to be aware that the Blade Master really wants to try and do any sort of stoppage here, as the Death Knight now wandering around here. Is he going to spot this Blade Master? No, he does not. There's the skeletal minion. As you see that the Blade Master is nearby, are we going to see a kill there? Blade Master sitting at level 2. Crypt Fiend's now coming across. Damage is being dealt. He is now down to about 400 hit points, as the skeletal minions will finish off this Apprentice Wizard here. Now, Blade Master has wind walked again. Gauntlets of Ogre Strength +3. Death Knight wants to pull away, but no Dust of Appearance. No, take it back. Dust of Appearance is ready to go, as the Nerubian Towers are still not yet added. This is 120, not playing very defensively at all. He does not want to invest in a Nerubian Tower. Instead, going to wait for Halls of the Dead instead to try and get a little bit of that slow. All right. Dust of Appearance was used. No one is nearby. Ring of Protection +2. Meanwhile, Blade Master clearing out the Goblin Merchant shop here. Going to pick up a Tome of Agility and should be able to get to level 3. Death Knight, however, very, very close by. Gets the kill steal there. Is he going to deny level 3? That is going to be the big question, as Focus is now putting pressure back onto that Death Knight. Death Knight down to, what, 536 hit points. That's sitting at 120. Skeletal minions are going to get in some easy attacks and gets to level 3 on the Death Knight. Beautifully played by 120, using the skeletal minions to close in on that distance and then steal that last bit of experience. However, the Blade Master will get to level 3 here. Well, no, wow. 5 experience shy from level 3, as the Death Knight has the current experience advantage. Big play right there. Death Knight pretty much on the dot at level 3. We should be looking at a Lich now being added. Robe of Magi still really helping out that Death Knight, as that Death Knight normally would not have that much mana. He has an additional 75 mana right now. Oh, Tome of Agility completely not spotted there. Death Knight gonna go ahead and pick that up, and that Blade Master not spotting that. That was a bit of a mistake there. Could have had an additional point of damage, and we'll see if whether or not that will be enough. Meanwhile, Blade Master going to go ahead and finish off this Murloc. Gets to level 3. Now going to walk away. Should be getting Wind Walk level 2. It does allow him to walk slightly faster. Yes, it is the level 2 Wind Walk, not getting level 2 Critical Strike as of yet. Back home, Focus is now using this time to get this Shadow Hunter to creep by himself. Looking to try and take down a Ziggurat. That Ziggurat down to 30 hit points will get canceled. Blade Master continuing to fight. Will Wind Walk away. There's the Dust of Appearance. And a little bit of damage being dealt there, but with no Orb of Corruption, that Blade Master, with that high armor, can easily shake off the majority of the damage that was added. Focus now opting to go for Wind Riders. Wind Riders or Wyverns. I believe they are Wind Riders. I believe that's a character for Wind. As the Wind Rider now making its way back off to the north here. All right, could start pinging down some of these acolytes, and that is going to be incredibly important since there are no towers. All right, so the Wind Riders are going to start poking down these acolytes here, and now I believe 120 is going to be forced to try and at least make a little bit of a run. There is that one tower here that is going to be fairly helpful, and we are going to see where this is all going to happen to a little bit later, as the Wind Rider is just holding in that back position, trying to slow down any sort of mining. We see a 40% reduction here, as we are going to have that Blade Master now once more run away. Lich still sitting at level 1. Shadow Hunter sitting at level 2. Now being forced to retreat here. Does not want to take on that Sasquatch. Acolyte still taking a little bit of damage there. Being forced to retreat once more. Not quite sure why the Acolyte doesn't get within range to at least deal damage to this here. As we now see Gargoyles engaging. Alright, Gargoyles versus the Wind Rider. Who's going to come out on top? As you can see, the Wind Rider is actually losing in this engagement a little bit. The Gargoyle has better armor, even though it is an unarmored unit. And now that one Gargoyle will finish his target and take him down. Strong play, all of a sudden completely neutralized, as we are at, I believe that's the Fortress. So the Fortress has been added. Blade Master sitting at level 3. And what is going to be happening next? I didn't even expect tier 3 here, so we could be at Fortress coming along. We are going into fortified armor to make sure that these Orc burrows cannot get focused down by those destroyers nearly as quickly. Acolytes are back, ready to go. Gargoyle now joining in on the fight from the north, going to take a lot of damage here. There's an ensnare. Blade Master may try to steal a little bit of experience, but this is not looking good at all. Blade Master hiding straight up inside there. There's the Dust of Appearance, and that Blade Master is currently revealed. Blade Master now being forced to retreat again as he tries to get away. There is another ensnare down, as the Blade Master should be going after at least something here, going after some sort of engagement. All right, Death Knight picks up the Potion of Healing. I don't know if it got the experience, as the Blade Master now looks to retreat. Destroyer up off to the north, gonna devour some magic. Looks like he has some mana ready to go. Obsidian statue now healing back up the remainder of that army. Blade Master with an orb of Orb of Lightning, that is the first sign that I can guarantee that we are at Fortress. We do have double Slippers of Agility, so overall plus 18 damage on that Blade Master with those Lightning Orbs or Lightning procs purging a unit and perhaps slowing them down long enough to get taken out of the sky. Death Knight now going to be running around here. Pit Lord is going to be added. It could be the use of Howl followed by Devour Magic in order to get more magic damage from those destroyers. All right, there's the absorb mana. There is that destroyer now taking off to the skies. Howl of Terror could be added. You see the engagement now coming in. Blade Master now coming in onto an engagement here. One Crypt Fiend now down to 235 hit points. Will it be able to get away? It looks like no, it will not even need to get away, as it does get healed. All right, Raiders now coming in as well. There is a Howl of Terror. There's another Death Coil again. That Blade Master unable to focus it down, as it looks as though it is somehow revealed in this location. Blade Master now going after another Obsidian statue. You see that the destroyers are dealing a tremendous bit of damage still. A large amount of mana, 330 on it so far, as it looks as though one Kodo Beast will get taken down. Ghoul now back in play. Troll Berserkers now coming back on the other side here, as the Undead army is just absolutely just tearing apart in this fight right now. The Howl causing so much damage. You can see that those units are now trying to get away. One Sentry Ward by Focus allowed him to take down that Crypt Fiend, as the Gargoyle now is pretty much stopped in his tracks momentarily. All right, Blade Master, there's a Dust of Appearance. What's happening? There goes the Blade Master now trying to go after that Lich. Frost Armor again, slowing down the attacks. There is a Potion of Greater Healing onto that Lich right now, as the Death Coil does come across in time. Blade Master now trying to get away. As you see, all that damage was dealt right there. Devour Magic healing back up just a little bit. 46 over 50 supply. Crypt Fiends are being added, an additional Obsidian statue compared to 39 over 50, but Focus is healing his units back up once more. All right, Fortified Armor for those Orc Burrows. That's going to be significantly stronger. Meanwhile, you can see that the Blade Master off to the north. Where is he going to be traveling to next? And can he really get any harassment done? That is the big question. Let's take a look at this. All right, Speed Squirrel going to come across here. Is it going to go ahead and try and take down this location? Yes, it does. Takes down 2 Ziggurats, and now the Sacrificial Pit will get taken out. All right, Blade Master may try and do a little bit more damage once more. Is he going to try and wind walk away? It looks like he will be able to wind walk again, as you saw 2 Ziggurats taken out in pretty much a moment's notice there. Blade Master now looking to hide. He does have a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Could go back in, put pressure on once more. Goblin Sappers could try to suicide their way in again. And every time you are able to sneak through there, that is going to be a tremendous loss, as an Acolyte will get taken down. There goes one. Another Acolyte could get taken down there. There is another Purge as well, as we see the Windwalk Focus just taking down these Acolytes, forcing constant retraining, as we are currently supply blocked 45 over 40 after that one Ziggurat. Howl of Terror not being used, as these guys are magic immune. Death Knight now comes across here. It looks as though the damage will be finished off. There is a big Death Coil to try and save those units. Meanwhile, Lich down to 250 hit points as well. He's taking a fair bit of damage, but the Obsidian statues in the back doing a great job healing up the remaining units, as the Death Knight does land another Death Coil once more. All right, that Destroyer overhead not able to do very much. Tome of Intelligence being given to I'm not sure who. You see Dust of Appearance making sure that there is no Blade Master nearby. Granite Golem, as we do have, what is that, Endurance Aura now being given. All right, that Death Knight now moving around extremely quickly with the Endurance Aura and the Unholy Aura. Unholy Aura is only at level 1. Meanwhile, let's go ahead, head back off over here. Blade Master sitting at level 3. Has gotten in a little bit more damage, but the Acolytes are all back up and running. Blade Master will be forced to retreat. Shadowhunter should be close to 4, if not there already. Is already at 4, but with not that many supporting items, I don't know if he's going to be able to get all of those healing waves off effectively. Focus now wandering around here. Death Knight sitting at level 4 on himself. Lich is sitting at 3. And that Pit Lord is sitting at 2. Blade Master is sitting at 3 right now. Not yet quite at 4. No, just now got to 4. So plus 13 damage as we're going to be seeing an engagement here. Those are the War Drums up to plus 18 now. As the Blade Master may be able to get off a Windwalk strike and perhaps take down some of these units. There goes an ensnare. The Death Knight, however, not in danger of getting taken down as of yet. That endurance aura, that frost armor. We know that there's going to be a death pact in there as well if the damage does account for it. We are now looking into an engagement here. Units are all just trying to run Frost Nova onto a Kodo Beast. Kodo Beast is in serious trouble. Healing Wave trying to save it, but the Pit Lord has completely trapped that Kodo Beast, causing major damage reduction. All right, you see Howl of Terror. Big damage reduction across the board. Healing Wave coming across again. Obsidian Statue now taken down. Blade Master needs to finish off all of these units as the Shade is now in with the army. Another Frost Nova right there. Healing Wave trying to keep up this Orc army, but this is just not looking good. As you can see, the Blade Master may be able to at least finish off. No, not able to finish off another Crypt Fiend there. The damage is still adding up here. Healing Wave coming across. Blade Master now at -2 damage as the Pit Lord is about to get to level 3. Continuing this fight here, Death Coil saving once more the Destroyers. The Destroyers have been constantly healed, so difficult to take down as the Death Knight gets another Death Coil off once more. Blade Master will finally get its Destroyer, but at the cost of a lot more units as the Grunts are now in full retreat. All right, let's take a look at this. Troll Berserker going to get taken out. It looks as though the one Spirit Walker will get taken out as well. 2 more units gone. 5 supply lost in an instant. 32 over 60 compared to 45 over 60. 120 with now a commanding lead. Lich still has a Potion of Greater Mana, has an Orb of Corruption and that Robe of Magi, plus 11 damage with a -5 armor debuff. That negative, or is it -5 or -4? I think it's -5 armor debuff. That -5 armor debuff does cause significant damage increases as peons sacrificing themselves on the altar of the Pit Lord. Pit Lord dealing so much damage back here as we now see the Blade Master trying to get into position. There's the Goblin Sapper unable to get into the right position there to try and finish off the building. Meanwhile, Blade Master is coming in to engage. Scroll of Town Portal. Blade Master now needs to get away and he will be able to do exactly that. Dust of Appearance not used as the Blade Master sneaks off once more. All right, Pit Lord ready to go. Obsidian Statues now ready as well. What is going on across here? Blade Master now heading back off to the north again. As the Blade Master going to try and take down perhaps one of these ziggurats again. You can see him now just trying to find where that undead army is, where he could possibly harass. You see a lot of obsidian statues, and the scary part is that means with that many obsidian statues, you're going to have at least 3 destroyers with a fair amount of mana. All right, there you go. There is that absorb mana coming across again. This one destroyer is going to need a heal in just a second. He is purposely pulling back. Death Knight is in position. He does not have that much mana, but he does have a Potion of Greater Mana if he does want to use it. All right, Crypt Fiend able to burrow himself in time. More attacking. There you go. There is that heal that we've been waiting for as the Blade Master Lich. Frost Nova comes across. Kodo Beast now trying to run away. -5 armor, taking an additional 22% damage as the armor actually hurting as opposed to helping. The Destroyers trying to stay alive. A lot of forest Berserkers, but the Berserkers unable to focus down the Destroyers as a Frost Nova eats through much of their life and slowing them down as well. All right, another Death Coil lands down onto a Destroyer as Focus gives the GG. 120 taking game number 1. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Please stay tuned for game number 2.